alphabet book, a Hope of All the Earth CD, and a 10-pack of Isaiah 9:6 stickers, all at a very special price. Get your Christmas bundle today at resources.afa.net.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hello, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the program Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network for this Wednesday, December the 13th, 2023. Again, I'm Tim Wildman. I want to welcome to the panel Ed Battagliano. He's here a lot of days. How you doing, Ed? But you just still deserve a formal
Well, thank you.
welcome.
Listen, I tell my wife, I get up in the morning, I say, hey, I'm still here.
Right.
How about a good morning? Now, I don't ask for a kiss from you, Tim.
Yeah,
but
no. That'd be inappropriate.
Yes.
I think so. We're not European.
No, that's true.
We're not Asian.
That's
Where
right.
Where do they do that?
I think
What
some
cultures?
places in Europe.
Yeah. Wesley Wellman. Good morning, Wesley.
Good. Good morning to you. Glad to be on. You kind of wonder sometimes why we do what we do. Is there any particular reason why we give the date and the day every time?
Well, Wesley, we invited you to be on this show really as a
To learn.
co-commentator, not to challenge your dad right off the bat with why I choose to tell everybody what day it is. But I'll get back to you.
We didn't do this yesterday.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that. Okay. I'll get back to you. Fred Jackson. Good morning, Fred.
Glad to be here.
And we're glad to have you on this Wednesday, December the 13th, 2023, Fred. Did you hear that, Wesley?
Heard that.
I gave it again.
Yeah, problem with that?
Problem with that.
Hey,
No,
can I just tell you just one
yeah,
quick
go ahead.
thing about the European, the kiss on the cheek kind of thing?
Yeah.
When I was growing up, so my dad's Italian, my mom was Greek. My mom's family were pretty new to this country. First generation, most of them, including her. And so when I would go to see relatives on the Greek side, this is the first time I remember, the men would kiss me on the cheek. And the first time they did that, I told my dad later on the way home, he kissed me on the cheek, my uncle, and he said, I don't know what he said. Yeah, those crazy Greeks, that's what they do. I don't remember.
Because your dad was Italian.
But he was Italian. But we were like, he was, my dad's side was like third or fourth generation. Nobody did that anymore. But it was my first, I distinctly remember getting kissed on both cheeks from one of my
Like the
Greek
movie.
uncles. And I'm just going, what's happening? What's going on?
You're in my comfort zone.
So that is a cultural thing. I was not raised that way, but in some countries, I think the French in Quebec still do that, Fred?
Is it European?
They're very huggy.
Yeah.
They really
The
are.
holy kiss.
Yes.
All right, so a lot to talk about today. Anyway, Wesley's going to be joining us on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We were glad to have Ray Pritchard in studio with us yesterday, and Ray will still be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Ray Pritchard. And all right, but we needed to add some younger blood to our team here. And so
That's why I'm here.
yeah.
I don't think he was
Yeah.
thinking about
Some people
About you.
Some people are self-delusional.
Yes, they are on this Wednesday, December 13th.
Yeah. All right. So we look now at our AARP man over here, Fred. No, Fred, what's leading the news this morning?
Well, I tell you, in the last 45 minutes, there's been a lot of drama on Capitol Hill. We have been reporting that today was the day that Hunter Biden, son of President Joe Biden, was subpoenaed to show up and testify behind closed doors before a Republican Judiciary Committee, to testify with regards to the evidence that Republicans say that they have accumulated, that there was great influence when Joe Biden was vice president, and Joe Biden, the allegation is, helping his son to get deals, great financial deals with foreign entities like China, like Ukraine. And then the allegation is Hunter Biden gets millions of dollars from these business deals, and then the allegation is that he gave some of that money to what has been identified as the big guy or his dad. So this was going to be step one today for the Republicans, to have Hunter Biden behind closed doors to present what their findings to him and get his response. The reason Republicans said they wanted the first one behind closed doors versus a public hearing, they didn't want all the drama of a public hearing, the filibusters, the speeches being made by Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. Hunter Biden did arrive with his lawyer this morning on Capitol Hill, but he went to the Senate side, and this is significant. He went to the Senate side of the Capitol Hill and held a news conference there. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So he holds a news conference, and he accuses MAGA Republicans of orchestrating this big event against him because he is the son of the president. And then he said something interesting, and Jim Jordan, the head of the Judiciary Committee, has picked up on this. Hunter Biden said today, "My father was not financially involved in my business." Now, that is a stark difference. Last week, President Joe Biden was challenged once again about allegations that he was involved, and President Biden said it's all lies. All right? So, Hunter Biden today,
We're going to hear from him?
we're not going to hear from Hunter Biden. We are going to hear right now from Jim Jordan, Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, head of the Judiciary Committee. He says an impeachment vote later today will light a fire under Hunter Biden, who will probably show up under a new subpoena. Cut number one.
Mr. Biden's counsel and the White House have both argued that the reason he couldn't come for a deposition was because there wasn't a formal vote for an impeachment inquiry. Well, that's going to happen in a few hours. We think it's going to pass. We think the House of Representatives will go on record with the power that solely resides in the House to say we are in an official impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight. And when that happens, we'll see what their excuse is then. They should have been here today, but once we take that vote, we expect him to come in for his interview, for his deposition. And frankly, we'll also, I think, look at contempt proceedings as we move forward.
We also have some comments from James Comer. He is chairman of the Oversight Committee that has really been driving this investigation. Cut number three.
Lawful subpoena to the president's son that we expect him to come in and be deposed. This is a normal process in an investigation. This has been a serious, credible, transparent investigation from day one. We've published 4 bank memorandums. We've had countless press conferences. This is an investigation about public corruption at the highest levels. We have accumulated mountains of evidence that's concerning to an overwhelming majority of Americans. We have specific questions in there, and I think we're going to allow you in there to see the piles and piles of documents, of bank statements, of emails, of text messages that we've worked very hard on in this committee over the last 8 or 9 months. We expect to depose the president's son, and then we will be more than happy to have a public hearing with him.
Okay, I'm confused a little bit here, and I know we have a lawyer in there. You're not a lawyer, are you, Wesley?
No, sir. I know lawyers.
You know lawyers?
I know lawyers. Yes, sir.
That's sad. No, I'm just kidding. We don't need any lawyer jokes here. There are a lot of wonderful Christian
Some who work here.
lawyers, but sometimes it is sad to know lawyers.
That's right.
Unless you need a lawyer.
Yeah, but they'll bill you for being sad about it.
That's right.
So,
And make
all,
more sense.
all right. So, okay, here's what I'm talking about. The Hunter Biden has been subpoenaed
Yes, to show up today.
to testify under oath
Under oath.
behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors.
Okay. So Hunter Biden has a press conference today in front of the Capitol, and I saw where he said, "I'm here. I'm here to testify publicly." Right?
Oh, yes. In other words, I'm not going to go behind closed doors. I'm going to ignore that subpoena, but if you want to have a public hearing, we'll do it.
Okay, now I looked up, and according to the Department of Justice, each count of contempt of Congress carries, I'm reading now from their statement on their website, carries a minimum of 30 days and a maximum of 1 year in jail. Each count, as well as a fine of up to $100,000. A federal district court judge will determine any sentence after considering the sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. So it's not a small thing. I've wondered this. This is the first time I've actually just looked it up. Okay, so you show contempt for Congress. A lot of times when people are saying they're not going to show up, they eventually do. I guess it's because this has some teeth to it.
Mm-hmm.
You could spend, for each count, up to a year in prison, a year in jail, not prison. It's probably a D.C. jail. I think there's even a jail in the Capitol. But
yeah.
So it's not a small thing if Hunter Biden says, no, I'm not.
It was interesting. I want to go back to the fact that he went to the Senate side of the Capitol, and they had someone on Fox just a few minutes ago explaining that was a strategy. If Hunter Biden had gone to the House side to hold this news conference, it is possible the Sergeant of Arms could have arrested him on the spot. Sergeant of Arms on the House side could have arrested him on the spot for ignoring the subpoena. But his lawyer took him to the Senate side where the Sergeant of Arms does not have that authority because it's not a Senate subpoena.
Wesley, I would guess that Hunter Biden, I almost said Hunter Lyon. I honestly didn't mean to.
Just Lion Ted.
I don't like.
Remember that?
I don't like those.
We got
Yeah,
Lion
I don't like
Ted.
those.
Don't copy Trump on name calling.
I'm guessing Hunter Biden is lawyered up, and probably has some political consultants trying to work him through this. That's my guess.
Yeah, yes, sir. I believe the same. Yes, sir. Is it?
Yeah,
Yes,
you don't
sir,
have to call me sir.
Okay.
I appreciate it. You're very,
Yeah.
very respectful.
He said
person.
young blood. I'm looking. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, old blood.
But, I think the same thing. Unfortunately, this is how these types of situations go, because we know that if it was behind closed doors and he followed the subpoena, we would get far more information than we would as opposed to him being able to do it on his own time and the way that he wants to do it, and to be able to lay out the narrative the way that would best fit him legally.
Right.
Which is what the lawyers are for. Exactly.
Well, I think now Comer, it was Comer a few minutes ago, Chairman Comer.
Yes.
He said, "Yeah, we'll do a public hearing after we do the private one, after we do the one that you're under subpoena for, right?"
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So anyway, listen, politically, I'm not sure it makes any difference. It's theater. It's interesting, so to speak, especially for political junkies. I think most Americans have their minds made up. I would say most Americans say, yeah, Hunter Biden obviously made a boatload of money, by boatload, into the millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars, while his dad was vice president, using his name as and influence to make a lot of money. And then he blew it on prostitutes and drugs and hedonistic living. I mean, he did, and he self-confessed to that, or he confessed to that. And now he's in trouble with the IRS and feds on tax evasions. He's got a gun. I mean, he's facing the consequences of his illegal and immoral lifestyle all those years. So I just think most people say, we know Joe Biden played an influence here. But I don't know whether you can prove. Maybe they're trying to prove Joe Biden pocketed money.
I think that's why they're going after Hunter Biden. The House.
We don't care about all that other stuff. We want to know. We want to know did Joe Biden pocket money from you in your Chinese deals or your Ukrainian deals or whatever?
And my suspicion is that Hunter Biden is being advised by his attorneys and whatever political consultants are in that circle. They are telling Hunter Biden, the only way your dad is going down politically or legally is if the Republicans or prosecutors have evidence, and if they don't have evidence, you don't need to provide it for them. I'm guessing that's
Yeah.
what he's probably going to take the Fifth Amendment from start to finish when he's before Congress, because he's up on charges. He could very easily say to the public, my attorney said not to say anything about anything because this is the Fifth Amendment, and I do not want to, to testify against myself. So I respectfully decline to answer and take my.
But you got to
Fifth
wonder
Amendment
how much of
rights.
this do we think has to do with the Republicans trying to continue to damage the Americans' view of Joe Biden or President Joe Biden leading into an election season too. You got to think that has some calculation whether they
Are you
actually
a liberal?
What?
You play the part of a liberal now? That's Ed's part.
Listen,
Are you saying?
welcome to today's
Yes,
issues.
exactly right. No, what I'm saying is I believe the Republicans are also using this as an opportunity, whether they believe 60% of them, according to an AP press in September, believe that that this is something that is worthy of taking on. But you got to think that they're doing it also too, for even if they can't get anything done legally, it is important to bring this to the
court of public opinion.
Court of public opinion.
I think a court of public opinion has decided.
Yep.
That's why I'm saying I think it's already factored in. Whether they can prove anything legally or not, I think most Americans believe that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden participated in the way of the world. Huh?
Well, there's ethics and then there's legal.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's either. But
Well, when Hunter Biden says, telling this press conference, my father, Joe Biden, president, was not financially involved in his business. This is why the Republicans want to. First of all, I agree with Wesley. I think part of this is clearly political, but what the Republicans want to do is they want to pin him down on this because it sounds an awful lot like lawyerly language.
right.
Well,
My father was not financially involved. Well, so you follow that up with, well, what do you mean financially involved? Are you saying he was not making business decisions? That's not what we're saying, Hunter. We're saying you made the financial decisions and then gave a kickback to your dad.
Well, and his daddy, Joe Biden, has repeated over and over and over again, I was never involved with my son's businesses.
Yeah.
Now, his son has said publicly this morning he was not financially involved.
I caught the distinction.
All right.
Yeah, but first of all, he started out with, I never talked to my son about it.
That's what I'm saying.
We've gone from that to, hey, I didn't make any money off of it.
Or I didn't make any business decisions. I made no
I
financial.
don't
Well,
believe
that's
him.
that's
I don't
not what
believe him.
we're asking you, Mr. President.
Yes.
Anyway.
Well, and that's why today the vote on the impeachment inquiry is really important for the Republicans in this.
Now, I'm just going to say I do not like the way impeachment is started with the Democrats. I mean, that's
right.
clear. I don't like the way impeachment is being used as a political weapon. So, if the Republicans have evidence, then absolutely.
They better put up or shut up.
That's right.
Yeah. And they say
They
they
know-
do.
Okay. They know that too. I think they do.
Yeah. But once they take that vote, it's a very formal thing. Once they take that vote for an impeachment inquiry,
Right.
they can subpoena the president to come before
Really?
that. Yes. They can subpoena the president.
Sitting president?
Yes. They can. It's an impeachment about him. They can.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They can subpoena him to ask him questions.
Did Bill Clinton ever go before the House? I'm trying to remember now. Did he actually go before the House during his impeachment? I'm going to have to look into
Well,
this.
remember, it depends on what your definition
Yeah.
is.
So that might have been his. He might have made the deal and
I think
said
he did. I think he was deposed because
that was the deposition.
That's where that came from. But I think it was a video.
I think it was. I think he said, "I'm not going to go before the House. I will allow myself to be deposed."
Yeah.
Right.
So
All right, you're listening to, I think we've exhausted our Hunter Biden time for this show. We're going to move on to the next
We all
topic.
agree he's lying.
Yeah, he.
Oh wait,
he
what
just
do we not do? We don't call people liars. What would you say?
storytellers.
Story.
I think we can. I think we can safely say that you can't really trust anything Hunter Biden says.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that we can agree on.
Yes.
Next topic, Fred.
All right. A lot happening today. This just happened in the last hour also. The Supreme Court on Wednesday, today, said it will hear an appeal that could upend hundreds of charges stemming from the January 6th Capitol riot, including against former President Donald Trump. Now, this is...
What now? What?
Well, I'm going to read this. This is just happening, all right?
Yeah, because this is new to me.
It is new because they just announced this morning, just in the last hour. The justices will review an appellate ruling that revived a charge against 3 defendants accused of obstruction of an official proceeding. The charge refers to the disruption of Congress certification of Joe Biden's 2020 presidential election, going back to January 6th. So there are 3 people that have been charged with obstruction in relation to what happened on January 6th. And I just want to go down here. A lower court judge had dismissed the charge against one of those 3, a former Boston police officer and 2 other defendants, ruling it didn't cover their conduct. Basically, it's an interpretation of the obstruction charge. This lower court judge said the Justice Department went too far in its definition of what obstruction means.
So this is probably in relationship to people who were at the Capitol,
yes,
but might not have gone inside.
Yes.
Okay.
The U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols found that prosecutors stretched the law beyond its scope to inappropriately apply it in these cases. Nichols ruled that a defendant must have taken some action with respect to a document, record, or other object to obstruct an official proceeding under the law. I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
But apparently it was significant enough. Now, the Justice Department appealed that court ruling, but now the United States Supreme Court has said, we are willing to take a look at this. Now, if the Supreme Court agrees with that lower court, that U.S. District Court Nichols ruling on this, that means the obstruction charges, which some people have already been convicted of, and they're saying hundreds of people involved with January 6th, but it also could reflect on the current charges against former President Trump. Also part of Jack Smith's inquiry into January 6th. So this is just more of the drama that's going on in Washington, D.C. today.
Do you understand? I'm not faulting Fred for bringing the story to our attention. Do you understand what's going on here?
Yes,
okay.
I think so. Now, again, this is brand new, so I'm sure Fred and the other AFN staff will delve into this a little more deeply, get professional commentary on it. But
professional help.
I'm not sure that AFA can afford that kind of professional help for those guys. But
okay.
So, listen, I think this has to happen. Maybe I'm not familiar with the details of this case, but what has got to happen is the overly broad prosecution of people who just showed up at the Capitol.
Yes.
Okay. And when you talk about obstruction of an official proceeding, there were people probably inside the Capitol who were there because doors were opened to them by Capitol police officers. Maybe some went in through a broken window. In other words, maybe what they should have been charged with was breaking and entering or, busting out, destroying public property. But to say they were in there because they were trying to stop the validation of the election is way beyond the scope, I think, of what's been happening. And there have been people languishing in prison and in jail for years now, and some have been sentenced
for years.
Yes. And there has got to be a sifting through of what happened on January 6th, and some of these wrongs have to be righted. I hope the Supreme Court will take a look at that.
Apparently they will in March or April.
Okay.
Yep.
Just as quick as they got to the BLM riots. Right?
Right.
Maybe a little faster than that.
We'll be back momentarily. A lot more news to cover.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, with Don Wildman.
Paul has some words for us in 2 Corinthians. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sake he became poor, so that by his poverty you might become rich. You know, I'm a rich man. Some people I know will deny that. They look at my salary, my bank account, what possessions I have. They by no means consider me a rich man. They wouldn't even go so far as say that I was in the middle bracket, much less in the upper bracket. But like I said, I'm a rich man. I'm a rich man. I'm rich because of my heritage. I came from a home where parents loved me, provided for my needs to the best of their ability, sacrificed things they very much needed so that I could have advantages they never had. I'm a rich man. I have a wife who loves me. She puts up with all my faults, stands beside me, pulls for me when the going is rough. No, she's no Hollywood star. But most of the stars in Hollywood cannot hold a light to her when it comes to real beauty. Yes, I'm a rich man. I have 4 wonderful children. I have 5 grandchildren. Children and grandchildren who give hope and promise of a better tomorrow. I love them, want the best for them, and try to bring them up in a Christian environment like my parents did before me. I'm a rich man. I have a job, a very meaningful job. Not much money in it, nor prestige, but it gives me a chance to help my fellow man, to lift the sights of others to a higher level, give my life to a cause that will leave the world a better place in which to live. I'll probably never reach the top of my profession, but I can face life knowing I did my best in the job which I felt my Creator wanted me to do. I have a job which I consider important because He considers it important. And again, I'm a rich man. I want to say it one more time. I'm a rich man. I live in a free country. Millions and millions of people cannot know the richness of that. They live under the shadow of a dictator. Millions more here in the country where I live have never realized that freedom is an obligation, not a license. Thus they are poor. Poor because they have not learned that freedom is not a license to drag men down into the depths of filth, but that freedom is an obligation to lift myself and my fellow man to greater and greater heights, pressing on toward that high mark to which our Maker calls us. Again, I'll say it, I'm a rich man. I have friends who are friends. They stay with me through the good times and the bad. They encourage me. They cause me to try harder. They keep me from giving up. When the clouds of darkness are around me, these friends of mine are beside me. They're true friends. The doors to their homes are open to me as mine is to them. I'm a rich man. I've found what many still are searching for. I've found forgiveness and understanding and help. I found them in a crucified Galilean. He takes my weaknesses and makes me strong. He takes my fears and makes me brave. He takes my doubts and makes me believe. He assures me of what every person wants to know, that there will be life after death for me. Like I said, I'm a rich man. Oh, by the way, can I borrow a dime?
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven, not built by human hands. 2 Corinthians 5:1.
American Family Radio. This is today's issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of today's issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of today's issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim Wildman with Wesley Wildman, Ed Vitagliano, and Fred Jackson. If you want to send us an email, the address is comments@afr.net. Comments@afr.net. If you're going to send us an email, sleep on it. Okay? There's no need to fire off an email at Tim because you're angry about something, which I had nothing to do with. But you want to release your feelings on somebody,
right. and that's all they are. They're feelings, folks. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's true.
That's right. I have the opportunity to coach, and I don't have to do this with my parents anymore. They're really great. So if they're listening, I love you. However, I have heard of people say to take a 48-hour rule. So you have to sleep on whatever problems you have with your coach in sports for 48 hours to really weigh out.
See if it's really
to see if
bring it up again.
That's right. And so we're asking you to take the 48-hour approach to anything Tim says.
Or as long as it takes.
It's only going to be Tim. Tim's going to be the only one that causes problems, right?
You to figure out that your email needs to be directed at Ed, not that's what
Listen.
All right. So anyway, email is comments@afr.net, comments@afr.net.
If I had to wait 48 hours, I would never complain about anything. What's the point?
I think that is the point. In all seriousness, there is biblical wisdom in controlling your temper.
Oh yeah.
And thinking about things before you
say it.
Before you shoot off your mouth.
That's true.
Brent, did you clip that up? That was Tim's my turn in 15 seconds.
All right. So, hey, listen, before we get back to the hard news, we got some comedy relief. Not ready yet. Okay. Well, we'll get to that in a few minutes. Hey, listen, we are, by we, I mean myself and Wesley and Walker, his brother, and my wife, Allison, Stephen and Beth McDowell. We are going to Washington, D.C. and George Washington's Mount Vernon, and we're going to Colonial Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown next June and September on tours. We call them spiritual heritage tours. They're going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do a lot of learning and a lot of good eating. And so it's a lot of fellowship, too. Wonderful people from around the country, like yourself. And if you want a vacation for a purpose in 2024, let me give you the website. You can check out the dates, the itinerary, the cost, everything you need to know. And that is, here's the website, spiritualheritagetours.com. spiritualheritagetours.com, spiritualheritagetours.com. If you want to do the whole week with us, we'll take care of you from Saturday to Saturday, and we'll see all the places I just mentioned. We'll start out in Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown. Then we move up to the nation's capital, plus George Washington's Mount Vernon. Again, spiritualheritagetours.com. What's your next story, Fred?
Well, we're all aware that in the wake of the October 7th massacre in Israel, hundreds of Israeli men, women, and children killed, the United States stood strong with Israel, very strong. And there was no hesitation whatsoever. The White House was saying, Secretary of State Antony Blinken was saying, we stand 100% behind Israel. They have a right to go in there and go after Hamas. Well, time has passed. We have seen the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas demonstrations, and we've talked about, especially on campuses, that sort of thing. But yesterday, President Joe Biden took that removal of support to another level, at least in my interpretation. Yesterday, Joe Biden claimed that Israel is losing international support because of what he calls indiscriminate bombing in Gaza. Now, what he is accusing the Israeli Defense Forces of now doing is just lobbing bombs wherever they feel
like the old carpet bombing back in before we had smart bombs.
And Israel has said over and over and over again, no, yes, it's targeting Hamas, but Hamas hides behind the men, women, and children there. And so it is growing, for those of us who support Israel, concern is really growing that the United States is pulling away from that full-fledged support that it has given Israel. And I think that's very dangerous for the United States.
Well, I have no problem saying that was this Joe Biden himself who said this?
Yes.
That's just a bald-faced lie. The Israelis are not engaging in indiscriminate bombing. Okay? I'm not sure any military does that unless you're fighting a war like Russia and Ukraine, where you have troops in an open field. You might have artillery pieces firing rounds to stop a ground invasion, but I don't know any military that approaches a war in a city like Israel is doing that does the indiscriminate, quote unquote, indiscriminate bombing. That's like Tim's talking about. That carpet bombing was, World War II, and after we did some of that in, in the Vietnam War, Korean War, those kind of things too. But that's just a bald-faced lie. That is not what Israel is doing. Furthermore, I would say this. I have been worried this entire time, especially, as you pointed out, Fred, as we have seen fairly quickly after the October 7th terrorist attack, Hamas on Israel. I've been worried as we've seen protests grow. We've seen college presidents double down on what they're going to allow on their campuses, all these kinds of things. I think I saw here recently the Puma makes sports sneakers and such. They are no longer going to sponsor one of the Israeli teams after what I have been concerned that the U.S. government might pull back. And I hope that's not what we're seeing here. And certainly I hope they do not withdraw those carriers from the Eastern Mediterranean, because that could launch a war.
Yeah.
As if countries like Turkey, Syria, terrorist groups like Hezbollah, countries like Iran, state sponsors of terrorism, if they see the U.S. withdrawing its carrier strike forces from the Eastern Mediterranean, they may see that as a green light to invade Israel. Yes. I hope the Biden administration doesn't go that far.
Wesley?
Yes, I was thinking here as we were discussing this, that it's we got to remember that this was on October 7th. This was Hamas who had, as you pointed out, terrorist attacks on Israel, and the extent that they went to the day after. I mean, within hours, to let Palestine's people or Gaza know that here's how we're going to attack. This is what we're doing. If you don't want to be a part of this, to get out. The extent that they have gone to avoid any casualties outside of the terror group Hamas that they've gone through thus far. This is for the president to have any accusation that they're at this point all of a sudden changing their strategy and now just willy-nilly,
right,
shooting and dropping bombs. It goes to the point that we all know that we're seeing on college campuses, and that is a political word usage to shift away to a gradual shift, which will end up being a long-term shift, to blame, or maybe not even directly blame, but to take at minimum the support that we've always had for Israel away from them. And it's just completely irrational. Hey, one other thing, separate on the same topic of the Middle East, AFR, American Family Radio, we have John Riley, who does a Middle East report daily in a podcast form and in a radio program form, and he covers this stuff extensively. And you can find that at afr.net. That's afr.net. It's called the Middle East Report by John Riley.
It's a podcast
and a radio program.
What time does it air on the radio for us? Is it at different times? Different times. It rotates different times, but it's
archived right there.
Okay.
On AFR.net, and I've listened to several of them recently.
He does a great job.
He does a great job, and since October 7th, he's been solely focused. He
has sources.
He does
in Israel,
right?
Because he's from that part of the world.
100%. So if you're wanting to keep up with this and even more on a daily level, you can find out more by going to AFR.net, the Middle East Report by John Riley.
Absolutely.
Yeah, AFR.net. You're listening to American Family Radio. Tim, Ed, Wesley, and Fred. Fred?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, while our president was backing away from his support for Israel in the United Nations yesterday, there was a resolution, and this was before the whole of the United Nations, a resolution for an immediate permanent ceasefire there. And speaking to this was Israeli UN Ambassador Gilhan Erdan. And listen what he had to say.
I saw this. This is great.
Yes, it's cut number 9, Brent.
The time has come to put the blame where it belongs, on the shoulders of the Hamas monsters. But this resolution does not even condemn Hamas. It doesn't even mention Hamas. I honestly don't know how can someone look in the mirror and support a resolution that doesn't condemn Hamas and doesn't even mention Hamas by name. So at the very last, I urge you to vote for adding a condemnation of Hamas to the resolution. But you know what? I have an idea. If you want a real ceasefire, here is the right address. This is the phone number of Hamas's office in Gaza. You can all call +970 599 3765 and ask for Yihya Sinwar. Tell Hamas to put down their arms, turn themselves in, and return our hostages. This will bring a complete ceasefire that will last forever.
He's the UN representative from Israel, right?
That is correct.
And he's holding. I saw the video. He's holding up a placard that has the phone number of the Hamas guy on there, saying if you want a ceasefire, call this guy right here. Okay, call him because we didn't start this.
Right.
And they're still attacking our soldiers
and hostages
and holding hostages. Yep. So good on him. To put it in that way, put it in that context.
Okay, I did have a really bad thought. Okay, first of all, this is the perfect way to handle it. If you are the Israeli representative in the United Nations, put the onus where it belongs. There, as we've said many times, as others have said, there was a permanent ceasefire on October 6th.
A two-state solution.
Who broke that?
States, yeah, so Hamas broke it. But what if someone calls that number for the head Hamas guy and Israel, the IDF, is scouring to see when that phone goes off and then they send a missile? That would be.
Yeah, I imagine that Hamas guy's owned that. He's probably got multiple phones. But, yeah. But, by the way, they're talking, either they have already started, they're going to flood the.
They've started
flooding the tunnels.
Flooding the tunnels, the Hamas tunnels that are a huge network of tunnels in Gaza. Israel started flooding them with seawater.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard MSNBC complaining because they said Israel should have flooded it with Kool-Aid. So I'm just kidding. But that's how they treat Israel. You're flooding it. What you should have done is flood it with Kool-Aid.
It's Israel versus the world right now.
Yes.
And, of course, that's biblical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about that before. We'll talk about it again. And, it's biblical because
you've thrown me off.
Israel has no friends. What?
You've thrown me off, Ed. Now I'm thinking how sticky that would be.
Yeah.
You meant it to be kind, or
I was making fun at the way the media always everything Israel does, they turn it around
somehow
and see what you should have done.
What you should have, and Biden should not be doing that. To say the least. That is turning on Israel to accuse them of indiscriminate. Did he use that word, Biden?
That is a direct quote. Indiscriminate bombing.
Shameful.
And
I tell you
publicly.
What,
that's shameful.
Hamas, if they're going to do a public relations with this, they'll show Joe. Here's what Joe Biden says.
Right.
That Israel is doing.
Right. Yeah. But really, the only real friends that Israel's ever had is the United States. And to a lesser extent, the UK. And after that, they can't trust anybody to be on their side.
Right. And frankly, they have not always been able to trust even the United States when there's been a Democrat in the White House. Yeah. President Obama was very chilly towards Benjamin Netanyahu.
They weren't at war then.
That's true.
But yeah, to your point, you're right. To your point. Okay, so you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Now, former President Trump is he's in business. Okay, it's legal. He's in business, and he has an offer I don't think you're going to be able to resist. Let's play this clip from President Trump.
Hi, everyone. This is your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. My last 2 Trump digital trading card collections sold out in just hours. And now I'm back with my latest series called the Mugshot Edition. I wonder where that came from. The Mugshot Edition. 47 all-new stunning cards, and here is the best part. I'm doing two important things for my Trump collectors. For the first time, we're creating a real physical Trump card. Purchase 47 digital cards, and we'll mail you a beautiful trading card. It is an authentic piece of the suit I wore when I took that now famous mugshot, and it was a great suit, believe me, a really good suit. It's all cut up, and you're going to get a piece of it. I'll be autographing some of them. A true collector's item. This is something to give to your family, to your kids and grandchildren. With the purchase of 47 of the Trump digital trading cards, you will also be invited to join me for a gala dinner at my beautiful Mar-a-Lago, my home in Florida. You've perhaps heard of it. It's become a pretty famous place. We just had our first dinner for my collectors, and we had a lot of fun together. That was a great evening. That was a fantastic evening. Some people call these cards pop art or modern art. I wish I looked as good as I do on those cards. That I can tell you. They give me muscles where, believe me, I don't have them. I wanted to keep my Trump digital trading cards at the same price, $99 each. So go to collecttrumpcards.com. It's really easy to buy. They sold out incredibly fast the last time, and I think the Mugshot Edition will sell out even faster. So don't miss out. Go to collecttrumpcards.com. Go right now and collect your own exclusive piece of American history, and we'll all have fun together. Have a good life.
Is that real?
That's not a parody.
So that's not someone pretending to be Trump.
No. That is him. That is President Trump.
It is funny.
Why did
we all laugh.
It's funny. It's funny, but he didn't think it's funny.
Okay.
All right, let me ask you this. Now, did I understand him to say, because I may try to scrape up the money for this, did I hear him say that if you buy all 47 of his digital trading cards that for $99 a piece, so you're talking close to $5,000.
$5,000.
You get to have dinner with him at Mar-a-Lago?
Probably.
I don't know.
Or do they
He
pull
said
a name out of a hat?
They're gonna chop up his suit
Right.
that he wore for his mugshot.
He's going to autograph some of the cards.
Oh, really?
Well, he said that's going to be a real card, not a digital.
Slice up the suit, I guess, 1,000 different ways. I don't know. And then they're going to offer that with.
It sounds to me like we need to listen to it one more time. Is that what we need to do?
It would probably be a small, tiny piece of the suit, I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, on a card.
Threads.
But
I'm talking threads.
I'm interested in how you get dinner at Mar-a-Lago.
That's
Did he say you get it or you qualify for it?
Qualify.
All right. Well,
we're asking Brent. He wasn't even listening. He was.
Well,
anyway,
my understanding.
He was laughing along with us.
According the Daily Mail put out a story on this. The digital trading cards with are non-fungible tokens are being sold for $99, but with fees will cost $4,862.38 for the 47-piece set.
Right. So
now they're the suit. Are they the superhero cards?
Yeah, I think that's why he said
the Trump superhero cards.
Believe me, I don't have muscles.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like the
superhero cards.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess if you spend that amount of money, you get to go have dinner at Mar-a-Lago.
I guess, but $5,000, that's awful cheap to be able to go there for dinner. That seems to me.
I would think that a lot of people would take advantage of that.
I think it's probably eligible.
Yeah,
but we don't have time to play it again. But
no, we don't.
We'll play it again later.
But there's out of that clip though. There's two conversations we can discuss. We have to decide: are we going to discuss his narcissism or capitalism? Because that's smart. It's going to make a lot of money.
Trump's a narcissist.
That's right. Hey, look, we can decide.
Listen. CNBC. The $4,653 package also includes a dinner with Trump at his Mar-a-Lago club and residence. Now, obviously, it's probably a big group of people. So it's not like you're sitting
not
across.
Personal dinner.
Yeah.
So what now? You have to pay what? And you can get what?
This for all 47 of these.
You get all 47 the superhero cards.
For $4,653. The package also includes a dinner with Trump.
And the part of the suit.
Mar-a-Lago. And then the actual card, not a digital, the actual card with a little piece of the suit.
Okay. All right. Well, you going to go for that?
So if there's anyone out there listening who wants to buy me a set of the digital. I'm not going to spend my money. If I went home today and told my wife, if I had that kind of money to just toss into the garbage kind of thing, if I went home and told my wife, hey, you know that money we have saved up for blah, 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 I spent it on a 47 digital card collection, and I'm going to go have dinner with, I would be homeless. I'd have to bunk with Donald Trump eventually. Yeah. But if someone wants to pay for that, I'll go.
Yeah. All right. Next story.
This has to be another first in American political history.
Yes.
Oh, you mean
I'm with Wesley.
That's a good point.
I'm with Wesley. Here's the thing. His fans are his fans.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of combining the Marvel/DC comic universe with trading cards, that's capitalism in
I remember
in practice.
I do think that people just you're right. The hardcore fans of President Trump, they eat that stuff up, man. Anything like that. But Steve, I never forget Steve Bannon. And Steve Bannon is Trump fan number one. Am I right?
I think.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they are tight.
I think he's still a big.
Even though Trump dissed him.
Right.
But Trump.
Don't do it.
It was surprising. I'm sure Trump disses someone. That's just surprising.
You did it.
Okay, so I did. But I remember when Trump released the first set of superhero Trump cards.
Right.
It's about a year or so ago, and what happened was, and Trump's a master salesman.
Yes,
you got to give him credit for that. So Trump announced the day before, I got major news tomorrow.
Yes,
I got big news, and he didn't say what it was, which is smart because everybody.
Was this before he announced?
That this before he announced. Yeah. I think it was before he announced. Anyway, it's about a year or so ago. So, so Bannon and all the MAGA, they're leaning in to find out exactly what is President Trump going to say. What is he going to say? He says he has big news. Yeah. Well, his big news was he was offering a superhero card collection, and he was announcing that. And Steve Bannon said, "I can't do this anymore." He said, because he was expecting some big, okay, who's going to be his VP?
Yeah.
What's he going to issue some kind of policy thing? No, he's got superhero cards he wants to hawk. And Bannon said, I can't do this
anymore.
I can't do this. Of course, he recanted that. He is doing it some more because Bannon is really supporting President Trump. But I just thought that was funny when he said, I can't do this anymore. All right, we got about a minute to go, Fred. What do you get? You got some superhero Fred Jackson cards?
No.
No? They can put muscles where you've never had them, Fred.
Yes.
I'm afraid this body, I couldn't afford an artist of that quality.
That's right.
What do you got, Fred?
Well, if you're planning to move to Maine, Maine's a nice state, up there in New England.
Yeah. On the coast, it's nice.
Yeah. Might as well leave your gas guzzler wherever you're living right now because the Democrat-led government there in Maine is about to announce that within a few years, 82% of new vehicles sold there must be considered zero emissions. All right? So they're moving in the direction of California. You stop and think about this. 82% of the vehicles that sold will have to be...
By when?
This is starting in 2027.
That's not going to happen.
By 2032.
So in a 5-year period,
yep,
82%. Well, it will devastate the automobile industry for selling.
Yes,
for selling.
By the way,
everyone will go. Listen, everyone will go across
that's right,
to New Hampshire.
Yes,
and they'll buy their cars.
That's what's going to happen. I don't think this is going to happen.
Right.
This is another one of these green radical pipe dreams that they keep talking about. And the American people just aren't going to put up with it.
All right. Thank you, Fred.
You bet.
All right, Wesley, Ed, and yours truly will be back with Steve Paisley Jordahl in about 5 minutes. Stay with us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
American Family Association, a ministry with a mission to inform, equip, and activate people like you to strengthen the moral foundations of American culture and to give aid to the church here and abroad in her task of fulfilling the Great Commission. We couldn't do it without your day-to-day support. American Family Association. Find us online at afa.net.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Steve Pugh. Hunter Biden is skipping his deposition by the House Oversight Committee. Hillary Vaughn has more from Capitol Hill.
Committee chairs James Comer and Jim Jordan had promised to hold Hunter Biden in contempt for being a no-show. His legal team has called the subpoena illegitimate because there is no official impeachment inquiry. But of course, House Republicans trying to change that with an impeachment inquiry resolution, a vote on that today. If they do pass that, then that would put more weight behind their subpoenas. If they do hold Hunter in contempt and he ultimately is prosecuted, he could face up to a year of jail time.
House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says they and the American people have a very simple question for Hunter Biden.
What did the Bidens do to receive tens of millions of dollars from our enemies around the world? That's a simple question. Every American wants to know. What did you do to receive the money? And we also want to know what role Joe played. We believe, as what Devin Archer testified in the transcribed interview, that they were selling the brand and Joe Biden was the brand. And we believe that Joe Biden's known about this all along because he hasn't been honest with the American people. As Chairman Jordan said, his story continues to change. I mean, this is a concern. This is about public corruption at the highest levels. And, the president's son does not get to set the rules.
The Supreme Court says it will hear an appeal that could affect hundreds of charges stemming from the January 6th protest at the U.S. Capitol.
Supreme Court justices will review a ruling by an appeals court that revived a charge against 3 men accused of obstruction of an official proceeding. The charge refers to the January 6, 2021 disruption of the certification of Joe Biden's 2020 presidential election victory by Congress. The obstruction charge has been brought against more than 300 defendants, and a lower court had dismissed the charge against 3 men, saying it didn't cover their conduct. The Supreme Court's ruling could upend hundreds of charges, including those against former President Trump. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
A California church that collected nearly 20,000 ballots in previous elections is encouraging churches nationwide to host ballot collection efforts to boost Christian turnout in the 2024 election. Pastor Jack Hibbs told AFR's At the Core program the idea came in response to the ballot harvesting efforts in California.
We're going to see some great victories in 2024 because the good citizens are mobilized. They're angry. They should be. They're upset. But here's the thing. They know what to do about it now.
Victims of gender ideology often deal with depression and anxiety. Bronson Woodruff reports on what people who transitioned are dealing with.
John Noyes is a speaker and author with Stand to Reason. He talked with AFN about the issue of suicide in connection with today's sexual deviancy agenda, including transgenderism.
One of the problems with collecting data about suicide is suicide and mental health in general carry with it such a stigma, with a shame and guilt and associated with the suicide.
But what leads up to this? It's often that the person believes they've lost all hope. The fact is, transgenderism is a lie from down under, and when reality sets in, it can slap hard, especially after a surgical sex procedure.
The age ranges from, I'd say, middle school up through college and older.
Noyes said as a culture, we've bought into the idea of naturalism. If we're dealing with depression, anxiety, and social struggles, the world says maybe the solution is that you're a girl trapped in a boy's body.
So why don't you just get a mastectomy, and that's going to solve your problems. And in many cases, you know what? It does solve their problems for a time. But then the research now, the data is showing that the large swaths, huge percentages, upwards of some studies say 70% of post-surgery trans people wrestle now with suicide. And as Christians, this should really break our heart because people are looking for answers, but they're looking for them in the wrong place. Instead, the alternative is to view people as made in the image of God, regardless of your belief. This is the beautiful thing about the image of God. You're stuck with it. You couldn't throw off the image even if you wanted to. And because you're made in the image of God, you're valuable just as you are. You're worthy of dignity and respect, and that extends to your body.
I'm Bronson Woodruff.
Wall Street is drifting near its all-time high ahead of an afternoon announcement from the Federal Reserve on interest rates. More news online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Forget about Facebook.
The last 10 days we've been banned twice, and is unbanning a word?
They put us under the ban. Christians and conservatives.
Don't need you, YouTube.
Banned one day, banned again.
AFR programs are now live streaming on the AFA Streaming app. Now you can get shows like Today's Issues straight from the source.
Put back on the next.
Just say unbanned.
Unbanned.
Just search AFA Streaming or visit streaming.afa.net to sign up.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Welcome back to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim with Ed and Wesley, and now Steve Paisley Jordahl.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Are you done with all your Christmas choral singing?
Yes. Well, no. Church has yet. We're doing our Christmas program here a week or so.
What is that going to involve?
It's a lot of choir, a lot of singing, choir singing. You know.
No play.
There will be actors in roles, yes.
They don't have
but
any lines?
No, I don't know. I haven't seen the whole thing. I've just been practicing the choral music. It's not a drama as in like a musical or something that was put together as a drama. This is just something that has been pieced together very nicely.
Ed, you ever been in a Christmas cantata as a vocalist?
No, I've moved chairs, set up chairs for one. But I can't sing. I have a terrible
You know what? That's
singing
good.
voice.
You have good self-awareness.
Yes.
You know
I'm not going to be one of those people who goes to America's Got Talent or whatever and says, everyone tells me I have a great voice, so I'm trying out. So, by the way, can I just update the story we were talking about before the break on the Trump trading cards?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I got some additional information.
I call them superhero cards.
Superhero cards. So the I was wondering whether one of our listeners might buy me a set. But they've already sold out. They sold out within 12 hours. And people who purchased the cards would be entered into a drawing to meet the former president at a dinner. So it wasn't everybody who bought it.
In order to be eligible for the drawing, you got to pay is it about roughly $5,000?
Yeah, it's close to $5,000.
For the cards?
For the 47, and they've sold out. So,
but is this also include the indictments? I mean the
suit card,
the mugshot suit.
Yes.
He said he's going to cut up his
the suit he wore.
The suit he wore the day he had his mugshot in Georgia and sell off pieces.
Yes. So those were, you could only get those if you bought the 47 card.
Brilliant marketing.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to update. I know there was someone out there who said, you know what, I love Ed. I'm gonna buy him a set, for $5,000, right? Somebody was probably going to do that. So I was going to let you know you're off the hook because they're all sold out.
How do you cut up a suit? Yeah, Steve.
Scissors.
Yeah, that's it.
Somebody they probably.
I got
telling me
good news.
Melania, honey, I need you to cut up my.
Right, maybe I don't know, but I've got some good news for you, Ed.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of running for dog catcher, and I might cut up one of my shirts. And I will only charge $4,000 for the complete set. And I will promise that anybody who takes me up on that will get fine dining at McDonald's with me. So
all right.
I don't think anybody is going to take you up.
You don't know my shirts, though. I mean, your dad is famous because of these shirts.
Steve Paisley, Jordan.
No one knows.
You are.
They don't call him
famous.
Paisley without a reason.
Listen, I'm serious about this. There are people who show up here to do the tour.
Yeah.
Okay, and to see our new facilities, and they will say, I want to meet Steve Paisley Jordahl.
Right.
There you go.
So that is part of his name now.
Yeah.
It is. And you know what? If your boss says something like that, you just lean into it.
Yep.
What's the point of fighting?
There you go. All right, Steve, what's your first story?
All right. Folks, I want to just let you know about something that this time of year, you're going to hear the bells of the Salvation Army ringing every store you go to, and they want money for you to help them feed the poor, and they do a lot of good things over the year. But I want to tell you this, because this year, along with coins this Christmas, the Salvation Army wants its white donors to offer a sincere apology for their racism.
What?
Yeah, I know.
I said, what?
The Salvation Army has, and I looked this up.
Stop.
Okay.
Are you? Is this some kind of joke?
No, I had to look it up on Snopes because it looked like a joke to me too.
All right, tell us
real.
What's the story now?
The Salvation Army leadership created what they call an International Social Justice Commission and a pamphlet called "Let's Talk About Racism." It asserts that Christianity is institutionally racist. Quote, many have come to believe that we live in a post-racial society, but racism is very real for our brothers and sisters who are, this is what our black brothers and sisters go through. They are refused jobs and housing. They're denied basic rights, and they're brutalized and oppressed simply because of the color of their skin. So there's an urgent need for Christians to evaluate racist attitudes and practice in light of our faith. And by the way, the subtle nature of racism is such that people who are not consciously racist, read that, Christians, easily function with the privileges, empowerment, and benefits of the dominant ethnicity, thus unintentionally perpetuating injustice.
Now, let me read this report.
Yeah.
I kind of found this hard to believe.
I know.
They started this a couple years back. This is not.
Who did? Salvation
Army? Going toward wokeness.
Yeah, they have done some things like that. The Salvation Army's Alexandria-based leadership has created an International Social Justice Commission. Are you looking this up, Ed?
Back me up. Look it up on Snopes.
Okay, this is 2 years old, this story, and I'm looking at the Salvation Army website.
It's true, but
it
still persists.
They are saying, and we want to be fair, says that some individuals and groups have recently attempted to mislabel our organization to serve their own agendas. They have claimed that we believe our donors should apologize for their skin color, that the Salvation Army believes America is an inherently racist society, and that we have abandoned our Christian faith for one ideology or another. Those claims are simply false, and they distort the very goal of our work. So we will follow up. Let's double check that, Steve, and see if they are continuing.
Yeah, we don't want to.
We want to make sure
the Salvation Army if that's not true.
Right. So this says the Salvation Army occasionally publishes internal study guides on various complex topics to help foster positive conversation. So check and see, Steve, if this is something that's ongoing. Even if it's internal, it would be of concern.
They have done some woke stuff.
But they have done some woke stuff.
I saw this on several news sites, and I looked it up on Snopes, which is fairly accurate in what it says. So they say it's real.
Let's follow up.
Here's a moral lesson we can learn from this, though. When you're in line at a store and at a convenience store and there's people behind you, and the lady goes, "Do you want to leave your cents, the remaining round off your cents to give to?" And they fill in the blank, and you feel that weight of you don't want to say no to whatever charity's in front of you because you got people behind you.
Yeah,
just go ahead and consciously prepare yourself that you're saying no. Unless you have the opportunity to look up and verify that they are a good
legit charity
and a good charity to give to as a Christian, because they will guilt you there with people behind you in preparation, and so we want to make sure that doesn't happen.
I always tell them no in those cases.
Me too,
because I
don't know. You don't know anything about the situation.
Anyway, we will follow up on that.
I will.
Find out
next
what's
story.
happening.
All right. This is a little bit of breaking news today. I know you guys talked about the Supreme Court taking up the case of the January 6th case. Excuse me. They have also decided today to hear a case on access to the abortion pill and its approval process. The Biden administration wants to send them by mail willy-nilly to everybody. A lower court, when being sued over this, ruled that that would cut off access to the drug through the mail and impose some other restrictions. So that the Supreme Court has accepted that case. So we look forward maybe to some good ruling there. So 2020 listed as the most secure election in the history of elections. Don't you dare say that somebody cheated. So I don't know what we do with the Rasmussen Reports poll at Heartland Institute that finds out that 21% of voters who voted by absentee or mail-in ballot in the 2020 election say they filled out a ballot in part or in full on behalf of a friend or family member, knowing or unknowing. They cheated. They broke the law. 1 in 5 mail-in voters admit they cheated in 2020.
So you can't say it was. I'm going to take us off a rabbit trail here. You can't say that it was
off
cheating.
the rabbit trail or on the rabbit trail?
On the rabbit trail.
We're about to get on
About
it?
to get on one. But
Okay.
can you say that it was rigged or no?
I can say that they. Well, I can say that they cheated. To say something is rigged means it was a grand conspiracy that someone manipulated and
Like
said we're going to
COVID.
do this and do this. Like
And we don't know
like COVID.
we don't know for which party
I'm sorry.
these absentee ballots.
Actually, equal.
Okay.
About 20% Democrat, 20% Republican, and 20% Independent.
To me, what's important, a couple of things are important about this story, in my opinion. First is that there are too many absentee ballots being sent out.
Yep.
This was in part because of COVID,
Yeah.
where they just sent them out in some states to everybody who's a registered voter. So there's too many because that would explain people's ignorance about how they're supposed to handle an absentee ballot.
Right.
Okay. And the second thing is that, and I forget what the second thing was, but it was really good.
It was good.
It was really good. Anyway, that to me, at the very least, that indicates that we need to tighten up our absentee ballot laws and regulations so that this kind of thing doesn't happen, because
Right.
most people don't know. I wouldn't know if I had an elderly mother or somebody who came to me and said, I don't understand how to fill that out. Will you help me fill it out? I would probably do it. And apparently that would be illegal.
No, if they do it, if they sign it, these are people that not only said it's not illegal if someone says, "Can you help me fill this ballot out?" and they, I could do that with my wife
They
or my
signed
daughter
it
or my
for
son.
the-
But if they do it, they did it knowing of the person or unknowing of the person, and they signed the back of the forged the
person's
signature
name.
signature
Okay,
in the back
that
of the
makes
envelope.
sense.
Yeah, because we can talk to your wife about how to vote, or husband, or kids.
Oh, I do. My wife says, that's all right. I'll make my own decision.
Yeah, does she?
Yeah.
I'm not voting for you.
Is that biblical?
Well, we
think
gave
the
the
Bible covers-
franchise in
Actually, my wife does
1911
say,
or
I'm
something like that?
confused with all who these people. She does say, who do you recommend that I vote for? I'm just, most of the time, if I mention my wife on this show, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Mm-hmm.
So,
On a serious side, though, folks, if you do want to know something about candidates, we have a resource for you.
iVoter Guide.
iVoter Guide. You can go and you can get fairly detailed information on candidates all the way up and down the ballot. So
And who's offering superhero cards? Which candidates are?
That would be covered there. That would be covered there. I tell you what, the mainstream media is a little afraid that Donald Trump might make a reappearance in the White House. I got to tell you, their Trump derangement syndrome is on full display.
Now, this is real.
This is real. What? So we've been. He's likely. We've been saying, and the polls indicate he's likely to get the Republican nomination. Other things between now and the election notwithstanding, if he's accused or if he's convicted of a felony, that throws the whole thing up in the air. But as of right now, the mainstream media thinks he has a chance, and they are losing their collective heads. Listen to Cut 12.
he cannot be the next president.
Canada will become annexed to America. And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah, that means he can shoot the First Lady.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make himself into the Fuhrer, and he will make everybody raise their hand and salute him.
Using martial law against the American people.
Terminate the Constitution.
To rewrite the Constitution.
Create mass internment camps.
Might be sent to jail, or their rights might be suppressed, especially minority groups in society.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens. Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
Let me say this about that. It's ridiculous, a lot of these claims, and they're so far out there, they're laughable.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you something. There is a big segment of the American public that does believe they do. I'm not saying they're right.
Right.
I don't believe President Trump's going to rewrite the Constitution. He can't do that or anything like that. But they do fear him being authoritative. And, like the other day, he said, I want to be dictator for a day. Now, I think he was kind of half joking around when that he was responding to Sean Hannity. But a lot of people in this country, especially on the left, they don't distinguish between Trump joking around and Trump being serious, okay? So when he says things like that. So while that I laugh at what you just played because it's so outlandish and ridiculous, a lot of Americans do believe that when he gets in office, if he were elected president, he would absolutely, he says, I'm going to be your retribution.
Well,
right?
Here's
that he's going to start figuratively chopping off heads, so to speak. You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead.
This is what he didn't do in his first term and wished that he had, which is we've talked about the weaponization of the DOJ, of the FBI. He's going to go in there, he says, and clean house. And not just the top leadership, but going down into the ranks, anybody who has been...
Well, he first got to say he's going to fire Christopher Wray. Has he said that?
I haven't.
Because the other day he said he didn't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard him.
He's the director of the FBI.
Right.
But I think he wants to get rid of the swamp. I don't think he understood quite how powerful or how deep that was in 2016 when he said he was going to do that, but he didn't. But he's coming back with a vengeance if he's reelected.
Well, to Tim's point, it is amazing that there are a lot. These are talking heads who get paid.
I heard Hillary
to give
Clinton
political commentary.
Hillary Clinton and Liz Cheney. Were in there among the other.
They actually believe this. Nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they believe it. I mean, I'm just saying, to us it sounds ridiculous,
right?
And we laugh it off. But there's a big segment of the American public, not just these media folks, that do believe that.
Yeah.
But then there's also, it's probably as many people who say, well, good. I hope he does. I hope he does chop off heads. You know what I'm saying?
You mean literally?
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about figuratively.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like what Steve's talking about. Drain the swamp or whatever. But then there are people who say, well, why didn't you drain the swamp the first time?
Right.
I think what Steve said is true. I think once he got in there, he realized then again, he may have just didn't keep his word as it comes to that. However, regardless whether he didn't keep his word on draining the swamp to the degree that we want, that we would like to see, or whether he didn't realize how difficult it was and it was harder than he thought. Either way, now that this turned against him, the DOJ and the politics,
right.
Now you're going to see him being a little bit. You can see him being a little bit more detailed in his approach to doing that. Now, obviously, the FBI director would be the first name you would want him.
I'm just saying. As of like 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, maybe it's 2 months ago, I saw an interview with President Trump. It was somebody interviewing him, and they said, "Will you fire Christopher Wray, the FBI director?" And he said, "I don't know." That I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "We'll see." And I just thought, why don't we? If you're going to drain the swamp,
start there.
Plus, to Wesley's point, he at least part of the equation here, when he was elected in 2016, President Trump probably did find out that it is a lot more difficult to drain the swamp than you think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got to define what the swamp is, too.
I'm not even sure. A lot of these public sector workers in Washington, D.C. are probably part of some kind of union.
Yeah.
And there are probably laws on the books and regulations on firing people without cause. I don't think you just take a government worker and say, hey, listen, you voted for Biden, you're out. I'm not sure you can do that.
No, I don't think you can. But here's the thing. For the longest time, everybody would say, the leadership at the FBI and the DOJ is just, they're rotten to the core, they're biased, they're weaponizing everything. But the normal rank and file person sitting at the desk is fine. But you know what? The normal rank and file person sitting at the desk in the FBI was hired out of Washington, D.C. and Baltimore and Virginia and very, very blue and very anti-Trump states. That's where they get their people. And a lot of the people are very biased. And it's not that they voted for the man, but if they did something in the course of their job.
Well, listen, Trump went through 3 attorney generals. He fired James Comey, then he fired Jeff Sessions, and then William Barr. Basically, he fired him. He resigned. He went through 3 FBI directors and
attorneys,
not FBI directors. Comey was FBI director. He wasn't AG. Right. My apologies there. Anyway, he fired Jeff Sessions, and then he fired. Then he had William Barr, but now he and William Barr, are on the outs. So I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I don't know who President Trump would get, assuming he escapes and it defies the courtroom cases against him. The 91.
Yeah.
If he can Houdini that one.
Yep.
Then I don't know how he would determine who to hire and who not to hire for his staff.
Yeah, he has in this second round of running, or third round running for president, he has lost a lot of friends that that would be friends of ours, and so it will hurt him long term in the event that he is elected to have friends like us because of the distancing that he has done verbally to people in our camp, such as Kayleigh McEnally and others. And so, to your point, he's going to get somebody, but it may not be someone like a Jeff Sessions or like a William Barr, who otherwise we would consider like-minded, and we would have a lot.
William
more
Barr was a great attorney general, in my opinion.
Jeff Sessions
we quoted him often.
Yeah.
We commended him.
Absolutely.
He served President Trump well.
Did. Yep.
President Trump trusted him and hired him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they had a great relationship, at least a good one, a working relationship, till the very end.
That's right.
And then Barr said there's not enough evidence to support overturning the election. And that's when Trump said, get out of my face. Basically, that's what happened right there in that situation. So, anyway, we'll see. It's going to be, like we've said, it's going to be a roller coaster ride.
Yes, it is.
For the next, 10 months or whenever we got the presidential election?
11 months. Now we're looking at 11 months till the election.
Yep.
And folks, and if you like politics, enjoy your Christmas vacation and New Year's Day. But on January 2nd, buckle up because it is going to be wild.
Well, another thing is President Trump has got these 2 federal court cases he's going to have to deal with, January 6th one, and the documents case in Florida, where he defied his federal subpoena. Those are cases where he has to physically sit in court for all that.
Right.
Well, he was in court for the New York property.
Yeah, but
thing.
He didn't have to be.
No,
he has to be. You have to sit in a courtroom during a federal trial, especially if you're on the year of the. So, To me, I'm going to get on Trump 1 and go for exile somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? Ian? I'm not doing it.
If he were president.
I'm not. If I'm Trump, I'm not going to sit in a courtroom for 6 months.
Well, you have to.
I'm fleeing.
Well, they
you're
timed it.
You going on the lam?
I'm fleeing. Catch me if you can. Huh?
Frank Abagnale.
He's got
Yes.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day. Keep listening to American Family Radio. You know, one of the most patriotic